is Let's Talk Brand and Business, a platform specially curated to host technocrats, leaders, and industry authorities within the marketing, communications, and business community. My name is Shina Iteade, your host on this segment. Today, I'm thrilled to host a trailblazer in the fields of marketing, communications, PR, and sustainability. My guest has dedicated over 2 decades to transforming the landscape of CSR and sustainability in Africa. As a founder of WhiteHousePR and TruCSR Nigeria, he has not only guided major A-list organizations, but also championed grassroots initiatives across the continent. His visionary work includes the acclaimed Sarah CSR Awards Africa, which has become the gold standard for recognizing corporate and NGO excellence in sustainability. His influence has been recognized globally with accolades including a spot in Asset Global's top 100 influence leaders in CSR sustainability. Viewers, I bring you one of Africa's foremost thought leaders in the sustainability industry, Mr. Egbas. You're welcome to Let's Talk Brand and Business.
Thank you very much, Shina. I've followed your program for a while. You're doing a fantastic job for marketing and communication industry. Well done.
Thank you for having us, sir. Now let's talk brand and business. Could you start by telling us a bit about your journey into the world of CSR and marketing communications? What inspired you to focus on these areas? Is it because of the huge money, dedicated to CSR by...
Shina, I wish there was money in it. I wish there was money.
I mean, huge sponsorship.
Because I've been here 21 years and I'm still looking for the money. So it's not always about the money. I think it's about the vision. You know, the thing about vision is this. Vision comes to visionaries. And for you to be a visionary, what happens is that you get to a particular divide or a junction in your career or your life. And you need more than just what you have in your head. You need an inspiration. Where is the weather going to go to? Where is the rain going to fall next? And you have to be able to prospect into that future, even if you don't know how it's going to land, and begin to look for how to position yourself. In 2005, I remember we registered the PR company, and I was coming into an industry. I had all the behemoths, all the big organizations, and I was coming from outside of the industry into PR. And I remember then I used to ask myself, how will I compete with the likes of the quadrants and the likes of, many of them like that, corporate and financials and all of that. I needed to look for a niche, but it wasn't just a niche for myself alone, but I needed to look for a meaningful niche. So research. And maybe that's why I use the word inspiration. Inspiration is something that is beyond you, where forces, spiritual, begins to direct your step when you ask for guidance. And at that point I started to look at, now, advertising was a saturated market in Europe and America. And PR was also very saturated, even though it wasn't doing well in Africa at the time. But if we looked at how communication, because the first thing about PR practice is that you have to be able to look into the future, predict trends to be able to advise your clients in the first place. So I was able to administer that dose of medicine to myself. Where will it happen next? And that's why I began to look at, the future, which is part of what you're doing, is storytelling. Whatever brands are going to have, whatever interventions they're doing, they have to be a platform. I didn't even know what name it was going to be called at the time, but I knew it was going to get the market. There was so much going on in terms of consumerism. Consumers were becoming very aware of their right. They were ready to take on brand. So accountability for brands was going to go at a very high level. Then, buoyed by the power of consumerism, it was going to be, people will be trolling brands, dragging brands, and brands will be trying to do the right thing. So I just figured that
this was before the advent of internet, social media.
Yes, exactly. So that's where CSR, companies behaving well, to be able to have good stories, right? To be able to share to their stakeholders came in. I'll be very honest, I didn't even know what corporate social responsibility was, but I could tell when you study the markets in Europe and other developed climes that there was something boiling, right? So at that point, two contacts, which now became WhiteHousePR, we decided to situate ourselves in that place where we're going to be helping organizations, to come up with strategies that will help them harness the stories and the intervention between society, the economy, and all of that. And that's how our path into corporate social responsibility that later grew up into turned to sustainability. That's how it started. And this is 19 years down that road, and we have created a market that has grown out of Nigeria and to the rest of to Africa and the rest of the world.
Now, can you explain the core principles of CSR and why it is important for business, today, for brands?
Yeah, I would gladly do that. But
I haven't spent 19 years doing this.
First thing I would like to help us understand, our viewers and those people who are operating in that space, is that almost 4 decades ago, a gentleman called Milton Friedman came up with a definition, and he said the core purpose of business was to take care of the shareholders. Yeah, if he were alive today, I'm sure he's going to withdraw that statement, because going by what the evolution that has taken place, without the stakeholders, you can't have shareholders, because shareholders are subsumed into the stakeholders. So if you look at how CSR has evolved, which is the first thing I would like us to even talk about, is there was a season where it was being back. When you talk about being back, you're talking about philanthropy. Then you move to giving back. It moved from that point to CSR, which is giving back. And it moved upward, to going back, which is where we are now, somehow, when we talk about sustainability. Then the era we are entering, which is almost at par with sustainability, is the era of bringing back, which at that top place you have what we call circularity. Now, the argument most organizations make is that many years ago, even when we advented with our movement, trying to get organizations to buy into corporate social responsibility, the argument used to be, we can't be making profit and giving back. It's not our job. Our job is the business to be profitable. But there's a reason why the Millennium Development Goals failed by the end of 2015. Because up until that time, many countries, especially in the African continent, had that CSR, why should we give back? So they were just doing a lot of things for the sake of compliance. And that's why if you look at Africa, I think Rwanda scored the highest in Millennium Development Goals. There were 9 goals at the time. Nigeria made only 1. The giant of Africa made only 1 success out of the 9 various goals. So the United Nations had to sit back and say, you know what, we can't go far as if we are depending on just government. So that argument that businesses make is not their business. It's not their business if schools don't work, if healthcare don't work. Now people are beginning to understand that if government fails and the enterprise, people who are in charge of enterprise, allow society to fail, right? In the end, there will be no business. So it is in the best interest of both the public and the private sector coming together to drive development initiative that creates an enabling environment for them to run their business in the first place, so that they can even be profitable in the second place. That is one of the things that have happened. So there's been this evolution through time. Many years ago, people used to talk a lot about CSR, but the strong thing with CSR is that if you look at the history of the last 10 years, 20 years, Chevron will call it one other name, First Bank will give it another name, right? Those were part of the confusion that were not allowing us to get the benefits of it all. But when the UN came with the Sustainable Development, 17 Sustainable Development Goals, where they broke the 9 Millennium Development Goals into 17 and made public-private partnership a core driver of it, how we work together to meet the needs of the world, whether it's poverty, whether it's health, or whether it's infrastructure, and how we can do that together. That's where the conversation began to change. So those arguments many years ago, where organizations used to say it wasn't our business, now most of them are saying that in sustainability, right? Investing in sustainability ensures the sustainability of their businesses. It ensures the sustainability of society as well. And what is sustainability? Sustainability is the part where, how do we live today? Shina, Your business makes all the money from oil. My business makes all the money from limestone if I'm into cement. Whatever sector you play in, that you can use the resources. Because every business that we are in this world, we're taking the resources from the earth. How do we use those resources responsibly in a way that generations, your children's children who would live after you on this same earth, because there's no substitute earth, will also be able to profitably live in that world, in that society. That's what sustainability is about. When you go to CSR is largely about when we talk about philanthropy, volunteerism, ethical practices, which are good. But now you see CSR is beginning to disappear out of the conversation, as it were, not only in Africa or Nigeria, but globally, because the focus now, once ESG, that's environment, social, and governance comes in, where organizations have to be reporting what they're doing, so most people don't talk CSR anymore. Most people are now looking at things from the basis of sustainability and how they can tap into any of the SDGs that feeds into the vision of their organizations and their activities to also contribute to the development of mankind and the well-being of the world.
All right, some critics believe CSR is more of improving the brand's image and not, truly making genuine impact in society. What's your take on, especially in this part of the world?
That is a school of thought. But you see, when evolution happens, there are views and perspectives that you hold at a time that might be true. But when new facts and data begins to hit you, that view changes without anybody telling you. Many years ago, that was what people thought. But this is where we are right now, which I think is why this conversation we're having is really important, because a lot of brands are struggling with it in Nigeria and some parts of Africa, right? The future of communication, whether you're talking about corporate communication, whether you're talking about PR, whether you're talking about media, as it relates to brands, is going to be sustainability for the next 30 to 50 years. You can quote me on that. Because what is sustainability? All of a sudden, we are moving into the era we always knew long ago, the era of storytelling. What is a brand going to tell you right now? You already know their color is yellow, their color is green, their color is blue. You're familiar with their products, right? What they do. Put it in water and bring it out, is wash is white as new. Everybody knows that. It's no longer a market differentiator. But again, I come to consumerism. Consumerism has given birth to that movement where right now, every brand in the market, every organization, consciously or unconsciously, your stakeholders are asking, what do they mean for us? What do they stand for in our lives? You're a company producing sanitary towels, for example. Your major market are young girls from when they start seeing their periods from the age of 11, 12, 13, 14, up to the point where they hit menopause in their sometimes in the late 40s or early 50s. What are you doing with that kind of stakeholder? What engagement beyond them buying? So people are interested in what brands and organizations mean to them beyond the exchange of I give you money, take your product. What do you stand for when it comes to girls' rights, human rights, education, healthcare, infrastructure? What do you stand for in those things? That is the market differentiator now globally. If it were not, Apple will not go and shoot a docu-report with Mother Nature talking about how their technology is helping to. That is the conversation. So organizations that are not getting it don't understand the currency that will be spent in the global communication space in the future. And that's why I used to say to PR people, I said, if you look at the trend globally, you find out that the people who had the biggest sustainability practices and organizations or consultants in the world are people who had PR background. Exactly. Because what is PR? Really, PR is your ability. PR is different from advertising. Advertising, I just want to say my qualities of my product so that you can buy. But when it comes to public relations, I'm trying to communicate to you my value, my standpoint, how it interfaces with yours, why we should be in relationship That's what PI does. Materiality in sustainability talks about, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is the major resource I'm using. This is the negative impact that is coming out of what I'm doing. So if I'm going to come with an intervention, it must bring positive that helps wipe out some of the negative. Today in the whole world, only 3% of water is drinkable. Even though we can drill and get water and make our soft drinks and all that. If I was telling this friend of mine, you guys should be looking at doing something around water. Because that way you are giving back to draw back to use for your production processes. Exactly. And in solving that, you're also going to be helping your communities have access to potable drinking water. And it was like, so that is the connection, materiality, you know. Then from all of those things, create a story. Bring that story on board. People used to say those days too, it was a misnomer. Oh, CSI, I want to do CSI, and we don't talk about it. We don't want to talk. CSI is supposed to be quiet. The left hand is not supposed to see what the right hand is doing. But globally it's changing, because you know what? What moving people to patronize brands these days, to support brands, to stand with them even when the weather changes and things are bad for them. I don't think that make them love them. And what makes them love them is those things they feel that you are giving, you're investing in them. You're not just taking money out of them, but you're also interested in their well-being.
Are you saying brands should focus more on that which benefit them in place of the genuine impact on the society?
The market is changing globally. See, what is the brand without the market? What is the use of a product if I don't have people lining up, queuing up, waiting for me to bring it out already? If you understand the language of the future, which is sustainability, and how to use it, embed your product around it, you know, and use it to launch, you have what you call the pull. You're not pushing into the market anymore. You suddenly create the capacity to pull people. That is why today Samsung will be launching a phone, right? They have a pre-order, and they already have sold out 10 million units even before the day they bring it out. And it's amazing. But they don't just do the marketing that way. They're also connecting to the things of interest. And if you go and see, take a cursory look at communication, you should get utility value. This is what we do. This is what this will do for you. It's not just exchange or buy my phone. Marketing is changing. So if marketing itself is changing, communication cannot be static. And if communication will not be static, how the brands, how the organization tell their stories has to become more interesting, has to take more life form, animation, to make people see themselves in what you're saying. And there's nothing better to get to activate someone or to activate the market or to activate in any way than for people to own the story themselves and begin to use the ultimate goal of communication, which is the word of mouth.
You're big on CSR, and this seems to be very new. Not very new, but it's not yet properly embraced in this climate. In terms of budgeting, brand budgeting, how would you advise brands to budget for CSR and sustainability vis-a-vis, their budget for advertising, direct advertising, and other marketing communication strategies like PR and...
Okay, so the problem is not the newness or the oldness of the concepts. The problem every time, the whole world from inception to date, Africa always arrives late to every developmental trade movement. We always come late, yet we have the biggest potential. The question we should be asking as people who oversee brands here, if those people are not getting broke and we have more human capital, human resources, number of people on the continent, what are we missing out on? Why can't we uniquely create a situation here, develop infrastructure, because those people are investing very quietly. Well, it's not about profitability for now. It's first and foremost understanding the wave that has come and how we can successfully ride that wave as brand and organization, so that it takes us to that place of not just profitability, okay, but a balance. A balance in society where we help to try to neutralize the inequality, the inequity with how we how we succeed with our brands, how we teach upstarts to start up businesses, how we encourage the growth of enterprise. The thing about sustainability, you don't always spend as high as you do all the time. Once you start and you get your journey going, that's why sustainability really is a journey for most organizations. After a while, you find out that you stabilize, you are creating, you're drawing more value and even investing less, as long as you get to connect to the vision of that organization.
How can businesses, brands demonstrate that their CSR and sustainability efforts are not just marketing plot? They are authentic.
Every organization where your intersection with the issues and in your community or society, it varies. And understanding those issues that will make you understand the opportunities that are even there. And understanding those opportunities will also give you the bedrock or the background or the foundation to drive innovative products that your opponent or your competitor may not even have the foundation to do. Brands have to understand their own why as well. It's not the greenwashing which a lot of companies do today to just tick the box for the sake of compliance. It's deeper than that. And when they understand that, they will not see sustainability as something somebody forces you to do. In fact, you embrace it with everything. For the last 3 years, Nigeria is now number 2 in terms of CSR spend, only behind South Africa. But there's what you call impact per naira or per dollar. But when you look at impact per naira, you find out that where we used to be maybe number 15, that same 8 years ago, if you look at the data, Nigeria is now number 2, if you gain behind South Africa. If you look at the brands in Nigeria and South Africa, Nigerian brands cumulatively are investing more millions and billions of dollars in sustainability. But I think that as we understand it, begin to understand the strategy of entry, right? Those results, those numbers will begin to go higher for Nigerian brands.
CSR and sustainability programs can be sometimes seen as costly and potentially impacting the company's profitability. How do you respond to argument that investing in
okay, so
this?
The way I would respond is this, right? A company puts down 3 billion for advertising. It's not expensive, right? But a company puts 500 million on a sustainability strategy to drive a program through to make a difference in girls' child enrollment in school, and we say it's expensive.
I mean, they believe that advertising to help them sell directly.
So it goes back to that argument. Most people, the chicken and the egg, which came first, right? The fact that we did not have knowledge and we did things wrong for a long time can be a very good excuse that now when you have knowledge, right, you should know how to do it better. The world has changed. The market has moved. The last ship has left the shore. We need to be on it. If we were not at the train station or at the shore, we need to swim to catch it, right? Because we need to now understand that unlike advertising, where you invest money to pull people to your product, right? Sustainability provides for organizations and brands, right? The opportunity, that opportunity to get the people themselves to be part of design of innovation, an innovative product. And you already have a ready market for that. Advertising won't always guarantee you high sales. Every time people get tired. When you look at sustainability, it actually gives you a longer, your brand, your product, a longer maturation period. That is the difference that sustainability is bringing to marketing.
Are you saying sustainability project and CSR is better off advertising?
Over time, it will subsume advertising. Because why am I saying that? That a high level of ignorance and lack of knowledge and misinformation about the opportunity that sustainability can give to brands.
Now, what role are you playing in terms of bringing light into this and understanding into CSR?
Some of the biggest roles we have played is what has taken up to the world. This Sarah's Africa Sustainability Award, which started as a Nigeria award, and in 2016 it became Pan-African. Last year, we had organizations from 27 countries in Africa taking part. Today, is the gold standard of sustainability recognition on the continent. It is the second oldest platform of its kind in the world. The other one is Responsible Business Awards that takes similar platforms in Europe. That's 19 years old. We are 18 years old, and we have Arabia CSR Awards, which is I think their 14th or 15th year. If you look today, over 6,000 entries. We have had almost 4,000 organizations in 18 years who have taken part. Some new every year, we get new people. Today we are having conversations, we are leading. Every year we have a side show at the United Nations General Assembly where we take some of the successful stories from around Nigeria and Africa, the brands, to take to the UN General Assembly for people to see the success stories that are coming from poverty alleviation and what have you. I remember this particular incident with an oil and gas company, and I actually led the verification team, and there was this very innovative thing, the riverine communities, no hospitals, no access, no roads, so they created a boat, a hospital on boat. I actually got in one of them, and we were just verifying. They entered it for the awards, and so we got to this community. It wasn't, believe me, it wasn't scripted, it wasn't planned. We just arrived in this community, and lo and behold, there had been a woman. She was as naked could be. Of course, she was having a baby. The baby was coming out feet first. She had been in labor for about 10 hours or so. They didn't even know the boat was coming. And right there, when they allowed us to record, carried her to the emergency units of the boat. CS brought out the baby. You could see the entire village jubilating, right? And that
happened on the boat?
Yes, that company had entered that project for the awards that year. So when the judges were looking at it, the name of the company they didn't like. And everybody was like, this company, I said, no. So the question is, should we be punishing a brand for what they did in the past, or be encouraging them if they're trying to turn a new leaf? We took that story to the UN, and I know how much in that room, people watching that video and seeing that story of just saving one life of a child or two, a mother and a child, change the perception of how people began to say, oh, so this is what people are doing. In Africa, what I tell people, our journeys, right, we actually, very honestly, have better success stories and best practices than core America and Europe. We do. If you should have the brands, a brand went to somewhere in Ogun State, if farmers that had never made, don't even know how to make 100,000 naira in a year, right? This brand went in there, created a value chain, taught the farmers how to, gave them everything, better seedlings and everything, showed them how to run a business. They were not running the farms like business, illiterate. From there, they were able to build themselves 2-bedroom apartments. Right? Now the company is buying the products. You had to see how they've changed lives of people by understanding. And these people would die for this brand. You need to go there and see for yourself. When you hear them talking, but they've been farmers for years. But a brand just came with a different, help them get better, but they're getting products that they don't need to go ship from abroad anymore. They get from Ogun State. They don't need to pay for a cost of. So there's this intersection where what brands and organizations want intersects with the need and the want of just ordinary people. When you can find it, magic happens. We've used that platform today to promote this concept. So 18 years down the line, all the brands that have taken part, the success stories, many people have upped their game. Today they are competing against some of the best brands in the world. That's part of the contribution. What I would like to see is that people in PR who actually have the foundational training of relationship management, right? To be able to, so I want to see them get more into the CS sustainability space, understand it more, and be able to help organizations to organize themselves in those spaces. where they can link their interventions or their program to their strategies to one of the SDGs that connect to their brand standings and vision. And it's game on.
All right, more on Sarah Awards. There's a growing concern that CSR and sustainability awards may drive companies to prioritize projects that are more likely to win awards rather than those that solve that have most meaningful impact. So how do you address this potential issue in Sarah Awards selection process?
Okay, so the thing about
because it's a yearly thing, and I might just want to just win the award.
It's a very good question, because those are the things we deal with every year. The Sarahs is the only platform of its kind in Nigeria that I know of on the continent, where after every process is done, we actually call a press conference and make public to people how the judges voted and why. I work in an industry where a lot of people who handle brands are my friends.
Not on the ISB that.
So people will call you and say, and I tell them one thing. In 17 years we have held the Sarahs. This is the 18th year. I have only voted once, and that was in 2011, where we had 6 judges and they were tie and who was overall winner. We have a formula, we have a criteria that we sit down every year and agree with the team of judges. Only a quarter of them are Nigerians. The rest of them are from all over the world. Top leaders in the industry. People you can't go and tell and say, oh, this person is my friend, so we'll go by the process. The Sarahs is also an award like you cannot pay for, you cannot buy. We've struggled with funding for years, no sponsorship, because usually when somebody wants to sponsor, they give you conditionality. So what we do, like all the competitive awards of that category, we get organizations to pay entry fees, administrative charges, which is what we use to organize the award. Maybe one day, somebody outside who won't have any interest will see what we built and say, look, I want to put the good work you guys are doing. We would like to line up behind it. So for us, what we try to do...
Are you saying over the years, this has been funded?
It's been funded from administrative charges and
not sales of awards.
We've never received sponsorship. They've been funded sometimes because we have other businesses. It's something we believe in. It's grown now in stature. So people are sometimes supporting one way or the other. We don't only do the Sarahs. From the Sarahs, we also have the teaser magazine, the social enterprise report, because there's so much we see when we go on these field trips. We produce, in partnership with Forbes Africa, the top 50 organizations in sustainability. So we're trying to use that to create other value sharing of, things that we can monetize.
The knowledge gap that we talked about earlier on.
Yeah, so we can monetize that to fund the award, besides the administrative charges that organizations pay to, which is the same. If you look at the Reuters Responsible Business Award, organizations pay administrative fee. If you look at they're even more expensive. If you look at this Arabia CSR competitive award platform, has to have a way where there's a leveler. Everybody enters the same, so you're not being a favorite to, showing favoritism to any. So we've had my friends, very close friends of mine, who come and tell, look, we are nominees, we are in the final 3. My MD is coming now. And I just smile. They come, they don't win, and the next 2 years they don't talk to you. But it's just...
Has there been cases like that? Where
so those things happen. But they themselves are advocates. They become advocates. Because they say, if I'm so close to this...
and he didn't bend.
So that's the credibility we want to build. Because I also understand when you're a visionary, you're only going to be there for a period.
On a final note, how do you envision the future of sustainability and CSR in Nigeria? And what role do you think technology will play, in this? The landscape is changing.
My final word.
Yes.
The world needs sustainability.
So what can you see in the next year?
Sustainability needs to work. It's a symbiotic relationship. Whatever crisis we have, anywhere in this world, is not caused by external forces or spiritual forces. It's caused by human beings. Overexploitation is a human problem. Waste, excessive waste is a human problem. Air pollution that makes people sick and a lot of people die. Many end up in hospital. It's caused by human. Right? Almost everything is caused by human. Excessive profitability, which is an anomaly. We can have that conversation another day. It's a human problem driven by greed and inconsideration for other people. Now, in my own growth in my own life, I find two things that God makes human beings into, right? Some people have the concept that God makes them into a reservoir. They want to accumulate everything for themselves, for their well-being. The concept of the reservoir. You're either a reservoir or you're a pipe, or a pipeline. Not the kind of pipeline where you hear Nigerian government, when you ask them everything they can give, they say it's in the pipeline, not that kind of pipeline. I'm talking about the concept. It's how I understand life. So maybe you can call it the Egbas concept. A reservoir and a pipeline. When you have a mindset of a reservoir, you're greedy, you're self-centered, you're ostentatious, you're sure of everything is about yourself. You want to make it at all costs. You want to ride the biggest cars to just show that you've arrived. You want to be, it's about you. Many years ago, maybe 50 years ago, that was the prevalent concept. That concept led to a lot of inequity, inequality, wars, drought, poverty. But the second concept, which I think is what sustainability tries to explain to us as human beings, so that we can run that with our brands, is that the concept of a pipe. The reason why God makes you a pipe, as He blesses you in your plenty, is able to flow to you, to other people who have need. It's important that that process happens because that is what is responsible for the balance of the world, of humanity. That's what makes us, our brothers, keeper, look after one another so that we grow together, we develop together, and we have meaningfulness together. So, final word for me, I think that brands need to look at these two concepts and ask themselves, are we reservoirs being excessively profitable? The richest company on the stock exchange, or whatever titles that we crave, that people see us that we are a big organization. And that bigness means nothing really. Or are we going to be that organization or that brand? As we get more, we begin to look at how we flow our goodness, inspire a new generation of startup, help people to create solutions from themselves that helps us to expand our markets, not to make us poorer, make us more profitable. Sustainability is the simplest concept in the world. It means that how do I exist so that you can also exist and fulfill my potential and you fulfill yours and everybody is happy.
On the notes, this is where we draw the curtain on this edition of Let's Talk Brand and Business. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Egbas.
Thank you, Shina. Thank you so much for giving sustainability a voice.